Hi, everybody. So today, really what I want to talk to you guys about is kind of about getting back to the basics of the business and learning the aspect of how to manage the business, some of the things that are really important for you to continue to do in order to see success. Understanding the difference between being a independent agent and then a contracted captive past agent, or if you're new, just understanding how it works and what would make you the most success by continuing to implement strategies and understanding of what the basic responsibilities of being an independent agent are. Okay, so what I mean by that is, all of us here own our own business. So, even though you're, a 1099 employee, you do have, or sorry, 1099 agent, you do have, all of the responsibilities of maintaining a business for yourself, right? So, Family First Life is really just designed to give you, resources, training, systems that are available, but you have to know how to use these systems and you have to understand what the basic things to do are when just going over business information and or maintaining. Okay. So, for me, when I started years ago, I actually was in a captive situation, and it's so much different than it is being an independent because I am now responsible for a lot of different things that I was not responsible for whenever I was in a captive situation. So, for instance, when you do a captive situation, sometimes they'll give you a book of business, they'll give you, administrative help that helps you. You'll get a paycheck, marketing. They'll kind of like give you, a little bit of like an allowance, things like that. But what I found when I was doing that type of captive situation is I really wasn't making any money. It was nice to say, oh, okay, I get this, I get that. But, when it all came down to it, I really wasn't making any money. So those are some of the things that you have to understand. So, when I decided to be a captive agent, I had to take on more responsibility financially, more responsibility with the business to, do the things that I needed to do in order to maintain my my client base, my carrier appointments, things like that, because those are all up to you to kind of maintain and make sure that they are in order for you to have a successful business. Okay. So with that, whenever I was doing initially getting into the independent side, I had to realize that if I wanted to have my clients, I no longer had that book of business, because as we all know, whenever you have a book of business, what happens is, depending on where you are, and mostly all of these companies, captive or independent, sometimes they you don't own your book of business, right? So you have to constantly like start all over, or if you build a relationship with a client, you're not allowed to talk to them anymore. Okay. So, those are some of the things that, I had to identify with and come to an understanding, right? I didn't have a paycheck anymore. I was responsible for my paycheck. I was now a boss. I didn't have to answer to anybody. And, you guys don't have to answer to me. You guys know that I'm here just to kind of assist you with your goals and answer any questions to help you become better producers. But back whenever you have a captive situation, or you have somebody that you have to answer to, you have numbers you have to do, of course we want to make sure that you are obtaining your monthly income goals and things like that. But we're not going to be harping on you, telling you you have to do something. And some people need that, but even if they're getting that, they still might not perform the best that they're supposed to, because they might not really like it, but they think they do, right? it's weird. But yeah, so, you have to be responsible for all of that, right? So, what I found is, identifying that I knew that, if I wanted to do any marketing, my marketing consists of, basically, making sure that I had clients to talk to. And then also, if I wanted to, market myself as, if I'm an agency owner or if I'm wanting to hire, right? That's basically one of your responsibilities. And actually, it's the primary responsibility for you here, right? And there's a cost to that, right? And you have to be able to understand how to maintain your business by, understanding that that's the cost, right? And so, if you're into business, hopefully you guys have a little bit of an understanding of business because now you're an independent business owner, and you have to have some principles and understanding of business, right? So, we talk about this all the time that, you have that, you're buying your supplies, right? You're responsible for your phone, your clients, your gas, things like that. Those are your responsibilities. So, when we look at, say, you're looking at like a business statement or something, right? I don't know if you guys are familiar, but you can always Google one and kind of have an idea and know, okay, yeah, now I kind of get some of the things, right? So, you're going to have your income that comes in, right? And that's going to be, so, you've decided you were going to get your families by, using your marketing, buying some supplies, right? Your leads. And now you've went into the home, you've done your so I'm going to skip kind of past making the phone calls and stuff. We'll go back. But you've made your, appointments, you've helped a family, right? So since you've helped a family, you're now having the carrier, since you're a 1099, give you a payment for, basically earning your income, right? And so what you do with that is that you're going to go ahead and you're going to, put it in under, income, right? And then with that, you can see that, you have that money that comes in, but then you have to, I would say reinvest into your business, right? So any business has, also the income, they also have returns. So, returns would be, gosh forbid, you went and helped a family. And then all of a sudden the family decides, you know what, me and Bob don't want to have this policy anymore. We're good. Or, we found that we had enough coverage, whatever the client decides, right? Or the family, because, those are considered returns. And on a business statement, that's calculated in, right? And when you're, looking at that as, when you're getting your income in and then you're taking that and you're reinvesting back into your supplies, and then you're calculating, your returns, and then, you're trying to figure out your operating costs. I mean, it sounds so complicated, but it's really just a simple understanding of it, right? Because, these are just the basic principles of, running your own 1099 position, right? With the 1099 position comes so much flexibility. You have an uncapped income, that you can earn. It's all up to how much you want to work, because nobody's telling you you can't, only put in 40 hours, you got to go home, or, whatever you want to do, right? It's very rewarding to have, families to serve, to get your, own little business going. And I don't mean little, because I mean, obviously Family First Life is like a huge business now. They've through the years grown, but that's what you're going to do. You're going to grow your business and you're going to grow, right? So, you want to kind of understand the operating costs, right? So I'll go into like, transition a little bit into that. So it's like an operating cost of, your business and what you're doing. So whenever I'm doing all of this, I personally just have a spreadsheet. I know that there's different ways that you can do all of it by, getting into like a system, a CRM, however you want to. But when it comes to like my business and, the numbers of everything, I just use a spreadsheet, and I literally calculate out every time I, spend money on my leads. I get a payment in from a carrier. If I have a chargeback, I put that as a negative aspect, and at the end of the month, I'm able to see where I'm at. So, with that understanding, one of the things that you guys have to understand is most businesses, when it comes to like a, how much, revenue they're making over how much they're spending, it's really like a 10%, you know, um, growth that they see, right? Or like once they pay out their operating costs and, their income that they have came in, it's only about 10%, so what you see with your business is usually a lot higher than that, I would say. So, if you're seeing a 10% or, higher, you're doing really good, even though it might not seem like it. What we end up doing is, you see other people's businesses and how they're, helping families and how many families a month they're helping. And it can kind of give you like an idea that maybe your business isn't good, but we're all having our own little business and we get to do however we would like, just as long as it's successful, right? So, with that spreadsheet, it's a great way. And, I get up early in the morning. One of the reasons I get up so early is because I will usually be on my spreadsheets because, if you get a payment in from a carrier, it's usually really early in the morning that they end up, depositing something for you. So, you can go into your business spreadsheet and you can kind of look, and then you can like, check into, if you need more supplies, see what's available, make sure you're repeatedly putting in those, orders for, your supplies. And then also one of the things that you can do and that I find is really important is your client management. So in the beginning, I talked about, having a book of business. We don't have that here, but you are going to create your own book of business. So you can use that within the CRM, right? The CRM has that ability, with Fairly First Life, you can add leads, you can categorize it, you can do the things that you want to do. I personally, when it comes to having my book of business, I still use my spreadsheet, right? I'll put every client that I end up helping into it, along with, their address, their phone number, what company I was able to help them with, and then I put in there if I was able, if I sent them out, like a card, because I always do that. I always make sure that I send out something to a client after I help them, and let them know, that I'm very grateful that I was able to provide for them and, help their family, with any kind of financial burden that, they may have experienced if they didn't have the coverage that I was able to help them with, right? Because that's what I do and that's important to me. You can put their email in there. So if, you want to, do an email kind of campaign for, your families that you've helped, you can have those emails there. And whenever you're ready, you can do that, right? Like you can send out, a reminder for them, that they're having like an annual review time coming up, things like that, are very beneficial for the client, right? But that's now up to you because you don't have, going back to talking about that captive situation, you don't have somebody else that's, doing all of that for you. You have to kind of do that. I find that when I'm doing it in the morning, it helps me to be organized. And then once the, carriers open up, depending on what time zone they're in, then that's when I can get on the phone if I have a problem with, one of the carriers, with a client issue or something like that, but all of my other stuff is done. And so I have that ability to, whenever it's, go time for, the rest of the world, which, usually starts about 8 o'clock, right? I'm able to already have a lot of stuff done and organized. I can, hop on the phones, get that situated, and then I can go back into, regardless of what type of day it is for me. Is it a dial day? Is it a, excuse me, a field day? Am I doing appointments at home? I can get myself restructured for all of that after I've gotten all of that organized and done. And it just makes everything simpler because I'm starting my day with not feeling like, oh my gosh, no, I have to call this carrier. It's like noon and I'm in this home. And if I don't remember, and then, a day goes by and you forget, like you can have yourself all organized. Another thing that I use is like a Google Calendar. I have it connected to my, my email. So, I can have my whole schedule there and I can kind of see, what's going on in general with everything that is on my my list of things to do, those are very important to have because it keeps you kind of in order. You talk about, if, Matt Smith used to say all the time, the white space, and Paul McLean, he would talk about it as well. Those are the important things. How much white space do you have on your calendar? If you have a lot of white space, what are you doing in those times, right? You need to kind of have it blocked out. Now, some people maybe get overwhelmed if they see too much on their schedule, but like a worker or somebody that is used to being busy and productive, the less they have, that's more stressful for them. So it's, you have to kind of understand that your time clock is going to be now your calendar, right? Your schedule for the day or whatever, that's your time clock. You don't have to go in and punch in and do all of that stuff. So, keeping those things at the forefront, right? And then just just being a good agent, meaning you're following the things that you're supposed to do whenever you do get your families. You're calling those leads, you're texting them, you're making sure you show up for your scheduled appointments, so that way you can help that family, because that's really what you're supposed to be doing, is helping them, right? And if you decide that you have something to do on a day, that you're properly, blocking that out of your calendar as well, and being able to have the momentum, since you are your own boss, to get back on track if you have something scheduled into your, your day, or, a few days vacation. I don't know. I know, some of you guys you do that, and there's nothing wrong with it. It's just what happens when you're, doing those types of things is, like I said, your schedule is your time clock. You have to be the one to get back on track. You have to be the one to have the momentum. I mean, we talked in the beginning about, your management as a captive agent. They're calling you, they're making sure that you're doing this and doing that. We don't do that. Like I said, I'm here to help you guys, excel when you need me, right? So if you can't, remotivate yourself, it's not good to take off too many days or do anything, because you should by now know yourself as your boss and be able to continually put back into yourself and the business with the knowledge of knowing your own self, right? So, those are some of the things I just want to talk about. It's just, I'm going to keep this kind of, obviously short, but, the things that are really important here, and we talk about this all the time, and it's really, there's nothing that changes. And that's what some people, if you're like needing to be, always stimulated by something, and it's got to be different, and, it's not a lot of that here, right? It's the same thing. You have to make sure you call your clients, your families. You have to make sure that you get clients and families by purchasing leads. You got to make sure that you go to your appointments, and you have to make sure that you're, doing your client management by putting it into a spreadsheet. You're doing your business stuff. You're calling the carriers. Just always making sure, if you have your training calls, making sure you guys are on those so that you can learn, and reinvesting back into your knowledge for growing the business. These things don't change. So, if you do need some sort of excitement, I say, find something to do outside of work that can, help you to kind of relieve that need for, for constant change and stimulation, right? Hopefully it's not anything that you like, you're drinking too much or anything like that. I mean, I know we talk about that, but nothing harmful. Okay. But yeah, so that's kind of what I just wanted to discuss with you. I hope this helps. And if you guys have any questions, or you want me to kind of send you like an example of, my business expenses spreadsheet, or, the client management, I'm sure, mine's really basic and simple. I just kind of, put the header in there, and then, fill in and go down. I'm nowhere like a spreadsheet, guru that, knows how to, do all of that stuff. I took a class years ago and I forgot it because I wasn't using it. Because back then, when I took that class, I was, doing waitress work. So, I didn't need the spreadsheet. And then, I transferred into doing, my own massage business. I didn't need too many calculations or anything. And then, now I'm here and there's not really a lot of like mathematical calculations or anything like that. So, it's just basic. But I hope, like I said, this helps. I'm looking forward to talking to you guys again, and take care and have a wonderful day. Bye, everybody.